Coming up on Valley View News, Oxnard celebrated Mexican Independence Day.
You can see everyone's patriotic, celebrating Mexican Independence Day.
Plus, the Friends of Bayona Wetlands organized a coastal cleanup.
We're out here for a couple hours, but we see a tremendous result from our efforts.
And besides sports betting, what else would Prop 27 offer?
Not only is it going to help out the tribes in California, but it can also help the homelessness.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Camille Acevedo.
And I'm Rocky Walker.
The California Department of Public Health issued an alert about a new version of the synthetic drug fentanyl that comes in bright colors and resembles candy. This drug is identified as rainbow fentanyl. According to the DEA, this version of fentanyl appears to be a new method used by drug cartels to sell this high addictive drug to children and young people. This drug is extremely potent and dangerous, and it's a major cause of overdose for unsuspecting individuals.
The LA Unified School District is providing all its schools with the medication that will reverse opioid overdoses. LAPD said 7 teens overdosed on pills that were possibly laced with fentanyl. A 15-year-old girl died on a high school campus. District Superintendent Alberto Carvalho says doses of naloxone will be supplied to all schools K through 12. Around 1,400 schools will be supplied in the next few weeks. The Los Angeles Community College District and Metro received a $1 million congressional grant. The funds will extend the Go Pass program. Metro's Go Pass program provides free transit passes for students at select schools. Before the launch, LACCD students paid up to $160 or more per semester for a U-Pass. Metro added 20 new school districts to the plan. It plans to add 10 more.
Undocumented immigrants can now get a California state ID. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the California IDs for All into law Friday. Bill AB 1766 was introduced by Assemblyman Mark Stone earlier this year. Applicants can now open a bank account, access health care, and more with the ID. The DMV starts issuing California IDs in 2024.
The city of Oxnard celebrated Mexico's Independence Day with their annual parade and festival. Here's David Reyes with the story.
The city of Oxnard started Hispanic Heritage Month by having its annual parade and festival on Mexico's Independence Day. An event that had music playing on the streets and music being played on the second floors. Police officer Manuel Perez has patrolled the parade for 15 years. He says it's a great time for the community and families.
As you can see, everyone's patriotic, celebrating Mexican Independence Day. A lot of people with their Mexican flags, the horses, a little bit of Mexico that was brought here to the city of Oxnard.
Vendors sold clothing and artwork, among many other things. Victor Molina expects around 1,000 people to stop by his stand. This is the first time I come here, and this was one of my goals to attend this event for Mexico's Independence Day. People were on horseback, and others drove old hot rods. When the parade ended, the music and celebration just kept going.
Mexico's independence on September 16th. They got their independence from Spain back in 1821. But the celebration begins on the 15th with the Cry of Dolores. Reporting from the city of Oxnard, I'm David Reyes for Valley View News.
Last week, Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law Bill SB 972. This bill makes all street food vending in California fully legal. The bill's sponsor, Long Beach Senator Lena Gonzalez, had pushed for it since February. Vendors will have a massive celebration at the Mariachi Plaza in Boyle Heights on September 30th.
The LA Times reported Saturday that the 3 main agencies tasked with reducing homelessness in the LA area failed to spend nearly $150 million in federal grants. It happened between 2015 and 2020. That unspent money was returned to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Molly Reisman of Los Angeles Homeless Services blamed the problem on the Housing and Urban Development funding system. She says that it's challenging to spend funds quickly or to reallocate money that can't be used for original purposes.
Protests continue in Iran after the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who died in the custody of Iran's morality police. She was arrested for not following a strict hijab dress code. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre gave a statement about her death.
It is an appalling and egregious affront to human rights. Our thoughts are with Mahsa's family and loved ones.
Protesters gathered at the Sherman Oaks Galleria to remember Mahsa Amini, who died Sunday. Her death sparked debates about the state of women's rights in Iran and the world. Demonstrations took place around the world. The crowd was on Ventura and Sepulveda, waved Iranian flags. In English and Farsi, they chanted "Freedom for Iran" and "Say her name."
Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed a bill that would have made kindergarten mandatory in the state. Senate Bill 70 would have required kids to complete a year of kindergarten before entering first grade. Newsom said it would cost the state up to $268 million a year. He added it doesn't take into account the state's record-breaking budget and plan. Newsom still pushes parents to start their kids' education early. Children over 5 are eligible for kindergarten but are not required to enroll.
The most affordable gas near Northridge and Chatsworth is a Chatsworth fuel station. Gas Buddy reports their gas costing $4.69 as of Friday. Los Angeles County averages $5.58. The state average rose to $5.51. The nation, it's $3.68 according to AAA. The most expensive in our area is at a Chevron on Tampa Avenue. It leads with $5.99 as of Friday. We asked California State University Northridge students on their thoughts on the recent gas rise.
The fact that I'd have to shell out like 20-30 bucks just to fill up 1/4 of that tank is kind of ridiculous.
Or maybe $70 like every 4 days is a lot, and then like paying here, so it is kind of a financial struggle at times.
Yeah, no, I don't like to spend more on gas because it's like giving away money, you know, because you know it's going to go away. The gas isn't going to last forever.
A judge approved the $230 million lawsuit settlement against the owners of a pipeline responsible for the worst California coastal oil spill since 1969. This spill dumped more than 140,000 gallons of oil off the coast of Santa Barbara in 2015. All American Pipeline and Plains Pipeline owned the pipeline responsible. Lawyers said it burst because of poor maintenance and corrosion. Federal inspectors found that the company failed to quickly detect the rupture and then fix it.
The National Weather Service issued an excessive heat warning for Southern California that started Sunday. For the LA area, the heat warning began Monday. High temperatures are expected to surpass 100 degrees in the San Fernando, San Gabriel, and Santa Clarita valleys. People are advised to drink plenty of fluids, stay in air-conditioned rooms, check on relatives, neighbors, and the elderly.
Rio Hondo Academy trains future firefighters the basics of safety. Our reporter Giovanni Galvez has the story.
Being a firefighter comes with many responsibilities and obstacles in order to help and ensure the safety of the public. Rio Hondo Fire Academy is giving their students the needed foundation and discipline to be safe. Academy student Brian ACOSTA says that he feels he is getting prepared for the real world.
We all came together, the cadres on top of us on every little thing. To make sure that we're doing everything correctly. So I believe that they're preparing us to be one of the best firefighters out there once we get into the field.
Proper safety is another top priority for the academy. From taking out water hoses to properly opening up a tall ladder, they must know it all. Senior Drill Master Felix Valle explains why it is serious for the students to understand the importance of their safety when in the field.
It's very important because, you know, they're going into a dangerous situation and we might make sure they're safe and they're able to come back home from whatever situation they're at to their families, and that's our #1 priority here at the Fire Academy.
Down. Academy student Jeremy Smith believes he and his classmates are getting the best mental and physical training that will keep them going day and night.
Rescue people, so if we have to throw that ladder up to the 4th, story to rescue people out of that window, we got to be mentally and we've got to be physically prepared to perform that job. We can't say we're too tired.
For the next 10 weeks, the Academy will continue to give the students the necessary tools and training foundations that will ensure their safety and the safety of the public. I'm Giovanni Galvez, Valley View News.
In Pomona last weekend, a Prius crashed into a brick wall and ended up just 10 feet away from a bedroom. Investigators initially believed the driver was unfamiliar with the area and lost control of the vehicle, but later the driver was arrested on suspicion of a DUI. No one in the home was hurt in the accident.
Pfizer asks U.S. regulators to expand its updated COVID-19 booster shot to children ages 5 to 11. Elementary school-aged children already receive kid-sized doses of the original vaccine. If the Food and Drug Administration approves, children can receive a kid-sized dose of the updated formula as a booster. FDA vaccine chief Dr. Peter Marks said he expects a decision on boosters for that age group soon. The modified boosters aim to ease the spread of COVID-19.
A woman was fatally shot during an apparent domestic violence incident in Fontana. The police have identified a suspect, 45-year-old Anthony John Graciano. He is considered armed and dangerous. Graciano is believed to be with his 15-year-old daughter. He is driving a white 2017 Nissan Frontier with a California license plate number 44305G2.
The iconic Hollywood sign will get a slight makeover before its 100th anniversary. The landmark gets repainted with a new, more reflective paint that has better UV protection. It was last painted 10 years ago for its 90th anniversary. It takes around 250 gallons of paint and primer to paint the sign.
Police are searching for a driver who fled the scene after fatally striking a motorcyclist in the Mid-City neighborhood of Los Angeles. The crash occurred on South Fairfax Avenue and Electric Drive on Sunday night. The paramedics were called to the scene and pronounced the 22-year-old man dead. The driver fled the scene in an unknown direction in a black four-door sedan.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed 2 bills into law that will combat the catalytic converter theft problem that has been on the rise since 2018. The bills signed were SB 1087, authored by State Senator Lina Gonzalez, and AB 1740, authored by Assemblymember Al Muratsuchi. These bills will require recyclers to keep detailed records and will only allow for used catalytic converters to be sold by authorized parties.
More to come on Valley View News. North Korea shot a ballistic missile into the sea, and a tropical storm aims for Florida.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my 3rd child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Attacks against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Yo, camping buddy. Okay, you guys ready?
Dude, I thought you were driving.
I thought you were driving.
Oh, I never said I was driving.
I definitely can't drive.
If you're high, just don't drive. It's illegal everywhere. If you feel different, you drive different.
Now let's go to Savanah Taylor in the Digital Media Center for some international news.
South Korea says North Korea fired a short-range ballistic missile into its sea. Meanwhile, a U.S. aircraft carrier visits South Korea for joint military exercises. South Korea says that the missile was launched from the western inland town of Taechon. It flew 370 miles before falling into the sea. South Korea convened an emergency National Security Council meeting to deal with the matter. South Korea said the launch violates UN protocols. Typhoon Naru forced thousands to evacuate to safety after it hit northeastern Philippines last weekend. The storm crossed the main Luzon island towards the capital city of Manila. The typhoon gained strength from another storm and turned into a super typhoon 24 hours later. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Ian is near hurricane strength and poses a danger to parts of Florida. Heavy rains and some winds are expected inland over southeast area. Ian poses threats to Western Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, the Cayman Islands, and Western Cuba. 3 people were injured and 2 were missing after a giant sinkhole opened in a town just south of Guatemala City in Guatemala last weekend. Witnesses say the sinkhole opened quickly. Sinkholes are fairly common in Guatemala City. Cubans voted in the law supporting same-sex marriage. The law also gives more protection to women, children, and elderly. Members of the LGBTQ community will be allowed to adopt children. Around 4 million people voted for the new law. Around 2 million were against it. Back to you in the studio.
70 miles through Los Angeles and Orange counties could cause a 7.8 magnitude earthquake. The Palos Verdes fault zone is in the Palos Verdes Peninsula. It runs through a lot of neighborhoods in the area. Scientists say the fault could produce an earthquake as strong as one from the San Andreas fault. Volunteers gathered to clean up Ballona Creek and improve the quality of the reserve. Our reporter Micah Hall has the story.
A cleanup event was hosted by the Friends of Ballona Wetlands Organization for California Coastal Cleanup Day at Ballona Wetlands Ecological Reserve. The manager of Habitat Restoration, Patrick TYRRELL, explains how they usually operate.
We're out here for a couple hours, but we see a tremendous result from our efforts. Typically, we get anywhere from 100 to 200 pounds of trash, sometimes even more than that.
When it rains, Ballona's Creek is the source that receives trash before it ends up on the beach or in the ocean. This creek drains 130 square miles of LA, according to Patrick. Volunteers were also warned about the chances of coming across syringe needles. Syringe needles that were found were collected by the organization leaders and disposed of in sharp item containers.
Candy wrappers and like chip wrappers and a bunch of like cigarette butts and lots of like little paper bags and masks.
The cleaning project lasted for 3 hours, and a member from the National Charity League, Samantha Allen, explains why it is important to clean up the environment.
I think it's extremely important because we're always talking about helping the environment, and I think we set that off to maybe bigger organizations and we don't understand what our part is in it.
61 people attended the cleanup event today, and 160 pounds of trash was collected. Friends of the Ballona Wetlands Organization host events such as this monthly. Reporting from Los Angeles, I'm Michael Hall.
A worldwide sharp fall in stocks this week raised concerns about a recession. At one point, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1%, making it the lowest closing level since 2020. S&P 500 fell 1.7%, while Nasdaq slid 1.8%.
A new California health care plan meant to improve Medicare could potentially cause millions to change health insurance companies. The plan calls for the revamping of contracts for insurers. Blue Shield and Health Net already stand to lose its Medi-Cal contracts in a little over the next year. Current enrollees living in places like Los Angeles, San Diego, and Sacramento may have to change health plans and possibly doctors. The Department of Healthcare Services says new plans start in 2024.
A United States government task force recommends anxiety screening for people under the age of 65. Recommendations will help doctors make a better decision about mental health. The draft will be available to the public for comment. The task force wants screening for anxiety to include pregnant women and postpartum. Screening will consider factors like underlying health conditions and life events. It'll help health professionals determine high-risk individuals. This year's UN General Assembly gave tribute to Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen's death raises questions about the future of Britain's Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is a group of 56 nations that have historical and linguistic ties to Britain. 14 Commonwealth nations are former British colonies.
When we come back, Elton John at the White House. Also, Post Malone cancels his show. Stay with us.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Dear moms and dads, what you have achieved here today is going to help us and our futures. It is why we are coming up on stage to collect your diplomas.
You know it's true.
Mom, love you always.
Everything I do
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff,
Mama!
like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Actress Louise Fletcher died last week at age 88. The Oscar-winning actress, known as the cruel and calculating nurse in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Fletcher had battled breast cancer twice before turning 80 years old. Her agent said she died at her home in France. She died in her sleep, surrounded by her family. President Joe Biden surprised Elton John with National Humanities Medal. The medal honored John for moving people's souls with his powerful voice. It said he was an enduring icon who overcame challenges in order to shatter convention and stigmas.
Post Malone canceled his Boston show at the last minute due to a fall. The fall on Saturday caused him pain that forced him to go to the hospital. This concert cancellation comes a week after Malone took another nasty fall during his St. Louis show on September 17th. The rapper accidentally fell into an open trapdoor while on stage performing his song, Circles. In this latest fall, his manager, Dre London, said Malone didn't break anything, but he did bruise his ribs. Albert Pujols becomes the fourth MLB player in history to hit 700 career home runs. Pujols hit 2 home runs against the LA Dodgers on Friday. The 42-year-old is retiring at the end of the season after playing for 22 seasons.
Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, 2 future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, possibly played against each other for the last time. Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers edged out Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 14-12. This was Rodgers' second win against Brady in 5 career matchups. Both teams are 2-1 after this matchup.
As Saturday Night Live kicks off with a new season, some are wondering if the years have taken the toll on the show. 7 of the main cast members have left, such as Pete Davidson, Chris Redd, Kate McKinnon, Kyle Mooney, Aidy Bryant, Melissa Villaseñor, and Alex Moffat. As of the press time, 4 replacements have been announced. The show premieres on October 1st.
Rihanna will do the halftime show for Super Bowl 57. The Super Bowl will be played February 12th in Phoenix, Arizona. The 34-year-old 9-time Grammy winner shared an image on Instagram with her hand holding an official NFL football. Her other halftime performers were not announced. LA City Councilman Paul Kretz filed a motion that would relocate some of the LA Zoo's animals. Kretz wants the Asian bull elephant Billy the Elephant sent to a sanctuary. He wants the zoo to stop breeding elephants altogether. Kretz said Billy lives alone in a small enclosure with a hard surface that's unsuitable for his body. The councilman also claims that Billy lacks exercise and stimulation. The zoo denies these allegations and disapproves moving Billy to a sanctuary. Kretz's motion also calls for the city to create an animal welfare oversight committee.
Sports gambling is a possibility, all depending on the outcome of Proposition 27 in California. Our reporter, Jesse Barrientos, has the details.
The owners of the Price Picks and DraftKings apps know there's a lot at stake with Proposition 27. Online sports gambling will be legal in California if Prop 27 passes. Jorge Reyes gambles on Price Picks.
And not only is it going to help out the tribes in California, but it can also help the homelessness because there's going to be a lot of revenue, a good percentage that goes to the state itself.
There are many gambling apps available to download here in California, but they're mostly fantasy apps. Money is not exchanged, and for example, you can pick over and under on points when basketball season starts, but you can't pick a team to win a certain amount of games or to win championships.
And I actually had a friend who's younger than me, he's 19, get me into this app called Prize Picks. It's an over/under gambling app, and I spent a lot of money.
This is how accessible Prize Picks is to anyone with a mobile device.
And if they're going to win by a roundhouse kick, if they're going to win by submission. But when it comes to fantasy, you can only choose whether it's going to be over a certain amount of time or under a certain amount of time.
Prop 27 will pass or not on Election Day on November 8th. Reporting from Santa Clarita, Jesse Barrientos, Valley View News.
Don't Worry Darling debuts #1 in this last weekend's box office. It stars Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, and Chris Pine. The genre movie came in by taking home $19.2 million. Pearl, starring Mia Goth, fell into 5th place by taking home a total of $6.65 million. Following the horror film Barbarian, made 4th place by landing $4.8 million. The re-release of Avatar landed 3rd place, leading $10 million.
Birkin, the husky dog, is not a fan of sharing. The owner shares a little video inside a car while the husky wasn't so happy when the back passenger was sitting on his spot while the husky is howling. That's all for us at Valley View News. I'm Camille Acevedo.
And I'm Rocky Walker. For any stories any time of the day, go to our website, csunvalleyview.edu. Thank you for watching.